Hey everyone, Mherex here, bringing you another video. This is going to be my boss prep video. Now, this is a really weird boss, so I want to start off with the bleed effect. I won't swear to it one way or the other, but I am pretty sure that bleed will not work on traps and jugs and boss. If it does work on traps and jugs and boss, Dudinator Sammy will with the right setup will do about 720 million. um and Ozzy Osbourne could do a lot as well with the right setup, with his traps as well, but I do not think it's going to work. That's do not think. I could be wrong. Also, I believe the bleeds tick, I want to say right away, but I don't know that since I used bleed way back when we had it, in ladies, and Chelsea was used, but I don't think I've used bleed since then. So it might not tick right away. You might need to swipe after the bleed to get it to tick. So I do want to cover that initially. I am unsure about those two things. You'll have to try and see, but I'm planning like not to use Dudinator, not to use Ozzy. Okay. So that's first. Now, the boosts this one are 500% bleed, 300% sub, and 300% black move damage. That's the scouting bonus for the other 100%. Those are nice boosts. I want to preface this with saying your results are going to vary greatly with your hype or not. I have done some comparisons with my guys and what they do. Basically, if you have 2 hype, uh, over an even level person, which this boss doesn't have hype, it's about a 35% increase, just ballpark for an easy figure. At hype 3, it's about a 66% increase. And at hype 4, it's an 85% increase. Hype 1 is more like about 15% increase. So you can use that to kind of factor in your damage boosts. And I'll have some examples with a couple of these characters actually for you, as we go on. So this would be a fairly effective set of killers for this boss, and it's very free to play friendly, right? Now, before we get into that, this boss, the main things to know, it does 13 million damage per turn, very standard. It's got a gem shield. This will be active. You'll get 1 turn without a shield. Then the next turn will be a shield. The turn after that will be freeze. So you will want to bring shield breakers. It doesn't matter what color if you can't win turn 1. So anyone that's got a specific color move that chucks gems of the same color is great for shield breaking. If you do not have a strong damage option, just bring a shield breaker and all is good. All is well. Do your part on the team, right? Think of this as a team. Do a little effort yourself. Don't put it all on your faction mates, and know what a successful lobby needs. Do not join lobbies with nothing to contribute that won't succeed and sit there waiting with your thumb up your you know what. Well, somebody has to try and tell you to leave the lobby because it won't work. Just want to clarify that. So the boss freezes the moves on its second turn, your third turn. So you'll want 1 person with unfreeze if you can't win turn 1, or turn 2 with a bunch of shield breakers. So you kind of want to combo some damage with some shield breakers just to be safe, or just full out blitz and make sure you turn 1 it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to cover is I picked 3 move damage people. I picked 4 bleed people, and I picked 2 sub people to show you, and I believe they're the best or very close to the best in each category. Before you say, Mherex, this person will be amazing, look at the base moves I'm showing you and compare them, because they're probably not. All right. We're going to start with bleed, and we're going to start with bone breaker here. So mine is hype 4. I didn't put wildcard into him. I didn't spend to get extra for him. I just got it throughout the month. A lot of you will probably have a high hype bone breaker. Bone breaker can be actually incredibly good, this boss. Really, really, really good. Let me show you what I mean. This boss is defensive, so his hardcore move is in effect. Oh, we're starting with bleed if you couldn't tell. So Bone Breaker. I mean, let's actually go against do Sammy because he does. That's the wrong button. Because he doesn't start loaded in. Because I'm gonna purposefully cascade most likely here. Bone Breaker. There's a really slick thing you can do to get a ton of damage down. Obviously, to get the most out of this, you need the Rocky Bleed Trainer Apollo. If you don't have Apollo, you use your next best Bleed Trainer, and it is not nearly as good. In fact, if you don't have Apollo, you're probably just going to want to go with a move damage person for your damage person, right? All right. Ignore the ultimate medal. This primary medal boat status, very, very good for this boss. Whenever you break 3 or more purple gems, you get 3 red MP. Okay? Just keep that in mind. So the 2 moves we care about are the Shambling Clothesline, 6 MP. We don't care about the damage. What we care about is the 3.1 million bleed for 3 turns. And if it's defensive, it's an additional 3.1 million bleed for 3 turns. So effectively, he has a 6.2 million bleed for 3 turns. So the next time, if you're about to comment on this video and say, XYZ bleed's going to be amazing, why didn't you talk about it, Mherex? Because A tier is, my free-to-play got it. He's only been playing 6 months. So I would imagine most people got it. And a 6.2 million bleed, that's without trainers, for 3 turns. So when somebody says, what about DX Army Triple H? He's got a sub and a bleed. Nah, he's going to suck. Somebody's going to say, what about Striker Austin's bleed? No, it's going to suck. Okay? Right? Like, you just don't worry about those. All right? Now, I'm starting with him because he's by far the best bleed person, assuming it doesn't work on traps and juggernauts. But even more importantly, with the skill plate, we can use delayed inevitable suplex to choose 9 gems to make into purple. This does 2 things for us. We can actually set up a bunch of swipes into purple that reload the red if there's no reds on the board. So we're going to actually use this to reload the reds, okay? And it'll keep recycling itself as it recycles the bleed. So it cuts a bunch of stuff out of the line and lets you get back to the bleed right away. And then you're just swiping and then hitting the bleed again. I will show you what I mean, okay? As for the trainers, and if you want to know his base damage, this is what I got for it. Apollo, this dude, for red MP. And then we got What's-His-Face here, and Santa. So if you don't have What's-His-Face, use Woods for 50%. If you don't have Apollo, you could use another red trainer, and you could use Woods and Kyrie or Ray and Woods if you want to do it. With this setup, he's going to do 12.4 million bleed twice, so 24.8 million bleed for 3 turns. That's before the buff. 28.3 million for 3 turns. Everybody with me so far? Hopefully you are. 24.8 million times 3 for 3 turns. That's 74.4 million bleed. It's a 300% bleed, so you multiply it times 4, or it's a 500% bleed, sorry. So you multiply it times 6 because you get the base amount and then 5 more sets. So we got 24.8 times 3 is 74.4 times 6 is 446 million bleed. That's base before adding hype. Now, if you add his hype, and mine is hype 4, it's 85% more. It comes out to 828 million per bleed. Right? That's a lot. That's a lot. So as far as how you would run this with the boat status, you can set it up to get a ton of damage on the first cycle. I think you could get the bleed easily 3 times. Because you're just gonna, and it's not slow. You're gonna hit the bleed pretty fast right there, no placing, right? Super fast. Then you're gonna choose 9 gems. You're gonna do 1 purple match, okay? That'll get you 3 red MP. I'm gonna do a 5 match. You would just do a 3 match. I'm gonna do a 5 match so we can pretend, right? We have 1 set up here. We'd set up another swipe here. We'd set up 1 here and 1 here. So we have a ton of purples already on the board. right? And a ton of swipes on the board. Now you're going to see we get 3 red. You'll take a swipe. You'll be refilled. You'll hit the bleed again for another 828 million. And you can see I still have 3 purple. So I'd swipe once, swipe twice, hit the bleed again before I even have to go back to the choose. So in this particular case, basically, I just soloed the boss on some swipes, right? So Bonebreaker will be crazy good at hype 4 and very, very strong at hype 2, 3, whatever. If you guys use hype 2, you could expect to hit for 446 times 1.66. So hype 3 would be about 740 million at hype 3. And at hype 2, oops, 446 times about 535 million. So Bonebreaker, quite clutch. Now I'm going to show you the next 3 I have for you with good bleeds, and some 2 of them have really good utility. We're going to start off in descending order of bleed strength. OTC Roman, I know he's rare, but he has one good thing going for him, and besides the bleed. Ignore the strap. This strap is not the one I would use for it. I'm not going to use him, right? So he deals on 4 MP, 5 million bleed for 2 turns. So if somebody's out there saying, Mherex, what about the 1.5 million bleed on Austin? No. All right. So we got a 5 million bleed for 2 turns at 4 MP, and then he'll help with the shield because it doesn't matter what color gem. He spams purple gems that can just spam itself. So great shield breaker with the bleed on top of it. So the trainers you would run for this are pretty similar to the last one. Apollo, Woods, these 2. If you don't have Apollo, substitute your next bleed person here. And if you don't have this guy, substitute Kyrie, right? He gets 22.5 million for 2 turns, which brings you to 45 million times 6, which brings it to 270 million bleed. Not super duper great, but he also has the shield breaker, right? On top of that, if you have him hype 2, it would be times 364 million bleed. And at hype 3, 448 million bleed. These are ballpark. I'm not slim, so these are ballpark. They're not exact. They'll get you close enough, right? That's if you want exact, Slim is your guy for that. And then at hype 4, it will be approximately 85%, 500 million bleed. Okay, so that's Roman, and he's the next best that I found after Bonebreaker, but he also breaks the shield. So I love that he brings that. Okay, Zombie Black. Most people have him. I like this because he's focused, right? So he's a great pick at focused, especially if you have unfreeze on it. I'm gonna run Zombie Black because he can do a couple things. You would also put a boat status, not a boat status, a red to purple on him, because he's gonna make 30 reds, and you don't necessarily get a purple in boss. So if you want to keep continuing the bleed cycle, put a red to purple plate on him, primary plate, right? He will also help with the shield as well. So he's got a 4.25 million bleed, so he's not quite as good as Roman for 2 turns. And you can also throw in a health steal if you need to stay alive. For some reason, it might help you a little bit, but it's going to slow you down, so you don't want to run it. And this is what the trainer setup would look like for him, right? Very similar. Puts you to a 19.1 million bleed for 2 turns. 38.2 times 6, 229 million. So basically 230 million. At hype 2, that would be 309 million. At hype 3, 380 million. And at hype 4, 423 million. But you should be able to get a few of these down, right? At least 2. Not as fast as Bonebreaker, because Bonebreaker setup's unique. He can place the gems, the choose to set up for multiple runs. So I would say 2 cycles is about it with black. But he can help with the shield because he's making 30 random gems into purple. And if you have the red to purple plate on him, then you can spam that over and over and over. So he's a great pick, right? And he's focused, which slim pickings for actual damage on the boss. Spoiler. All right. And the last one, you won't have hype for this one unless you used wildcard, so I won't go over his hype difference, but he is free, and he is really okay. But this will give you, this is a 3-turn bleed that's very big on Shredder, right? But he does less damage than the other 2. It's 3 turns, 2.5 million bleed. So before you comment on this video, what about this bleed person, Mherex? Do a little bit of thinking for yourself and realize it'll hit less than most of these, but you compare it. If it does more than some of these, like higher damage in more turns, then I missed it. Okay. And then it's fair game question, because there's a lot of cards in this game, and I'm not I'm not flawless. I do have, as hard as this is to believe, I do make mistakes. That was sarcasm, by the way. Crap, I didn't save it. Anyway, let me get the move damage people on here. The bleeds, rather. You can use woods instead of mellow, for sure, right? To get the bleed down. Because this move increases the black MP. And this is a choose to refill the purples on the sub, right? I thought I ran him with it. I might have just put the trainers on to see, to save some time, because he's now, I don't think as many people will use him. So yeah. Where are you at? Here we go. Boom. Okay. You can see 11.2 million bleed for 3 turns. 336 million times 6, 201 million bleed, right? No help with the shield. So kind of descending order, Bonebreaker, Roman, Z-Black, and Shredder. Okay, that's your bleed people. Now, really easy to run and really spicy, really spicy move damage is Haku. Haku is probably, Haku and Bonebreaker actually would be my 2 choices to carry, because of the speed that they can work with. And as far as cycling, growing the move damage, and that sort of thing. So Haku, if you have him, now this damage total will be with the moment as well, which adds 100%. Okay. So 100% move damage on the moment is a thing for real. And the strap is the wrong strap. You would just use a takedown 100%er with obviously black takedown 3s, right? That's what you would use. Your loadout, I forgot I ran him in Titan yesterday. Your loadout is going to be the knife edge shop, which the new rage plate will add 50% every cycle, which is great. And then this finisher that gains 10 green MP. So the trick here with him that is so good. And did I save the loadout at least? Of course not, because I'm big dumb. But I at least used it a bunch yesterday. All right. Now the trick here is he doesn't touch the board at all. So he's incredibly fast, right? And every one of the countdowns increases his black move damage. So he doesn't touch the board, he's fast, and he's going to grow his damage very well. So on the first cycle with this setup, with 100% move damage strap, the moment, good black substats, he can do 372 million on cycle 1. Cycle 2 is 656 million. And you have 10 seconds to spare about to get 2 cycles on turn 1. Very easy turn 1, 2 cycles, and he will go just over 1 billion damage. That's without the Rage Plate. The Rage Plate would basically equate to the moment if you're missing the moment. If you don't know what the Rage Plate is, it's the new one they were doing stip for, and is on the prize wall. It adds 50% gem and move damage every time you use thingamajig, right? One of these. So as you can see, I like the Rage Plate, and I did a lot of stip. So Rage Plate goes on, and then it adds 100% more move damage to that. He is my move damage choice by a clear margin because he's so smooth, right? I don't think it's close. Of course, it's 1 billion, but if you have hype 4 at 1 billion, it's going to be like 1.66 billion, or sorry, 1.85 billion. If you have hype 3, it's going to be about 1.66 billion. If you're like me and you have hype 2 on him, it's going to be about 1.35 billion. That's billions, and that's without the Rage Plate. So Haku, chef's kiss. As long as you get 2 cycles down, which looks to be really easy. Now we move to the free-to-play option in move damage. Roger Rabbit. Nice to see Rabbit being relevant. Eric Rowan, Ramblin' Rabbit. His setup, basically really similar. All right, game. Let's just be dumb then. So I had 150% move damage for my rabbit, right? With takedown 3s. The moment doesn't add any move damage. So this is your build, and these are your trainers, if you has them. You don't have Gooker, Hall of Fame Ted, right? So really simple setup. You're doing the black move damage by 250%. You're up in the MP, and then you're hitting the finisher for 70 million. And then your plates, and then you're swapping a 2x7 area into purple gems was to recycle. Now, Rabbit has the potential to, on his second moveset, make use of the Hulkamaniac plate, but you got to break 20 gems to do that. However, the problem with Rabbit is you start placing gems, then you start hoping for a cascade to proc the plate. You're going to very likely run into time issues or push the edge. He will be significantly harder to 2-cycle than Haku. You get a bad cascade and you very likely may miss your cycle, right? So Rabbit is great, but I would try not to cascade. So I personally wouldn't put the Hulk plate on him, and I just put my moves on an edge and try not to get a big cascade, right? This will go for 336 million on the first hit, 580 million on the second hit, for 916 million total, with a 150 strap. Minus hype 1, so he would not hit super hard. 916 would do like about 1 billion, right? And then you got hype 2 would do like about 1.2 billion. Hype 3 would do about 1.5 bill. And hype 4 would do about 1.7 billion. So Roger Rabbit, great carry as well, right? If you got the better the stuff you have, the better. Now that's with substat move damage medals. And again, I'm not going to say I'm exact on the hype and all of that, right? So Haku and Rabbit are the top 2. The third one, which I think is actually for me, I would use over Rabbit, would be Axe. Simply because it's very like Haku, not going to interact with the board, really easy to run. And more importantly, I have hype 3 for Haku, or for Axe. He's higher hype for me than Haku. So for him, it's the Forum Club, the double axe beatdown, and the diving elbow drop finisher. And your setup for this is red MP and then 150% black finisher damage, so Asuka or Ollie, and then Gooker, right? So this setup with 100% strap, black takedown threes and good substats. Cycle 1, I did 288 million. And cycle 2, I did 480 million for 780 million total. But mine is hype 3, so it would actually be 1.3 billion. And it's super simple to run. He will have no problems getting 2 cycles as well. Right? If you have him hype 4, 7, 6, 8, which I'm trying to do, but not quite there. About 1.4 billion. And then if you have him hype 2, he would be 7.68 times, probably right around a bill. Yeah, right at about a billion for Axe. So those are my top three move damage people. Gosh, I'm so close to 4. I am exactly 17 away. He'll be 4 soon. 17 wildcard hype. Okay, so that's the move damage people. So Haku, Rabbit, Axe. Now we're going to move to the 2 sub people I have for you. So Seamus. Acro Seamus has the best sub in the game. It's not close, right? So before you're like, Mherex, XYZ sub will be incredible, think about it. Look at look at Seamus's sub, and then come back and let me know if it's better than Seamus's. Okay? So Seamus, and he's one you likely, if you do all your daily stuff, likely you got a decent chunk of hype for him. I got enough for like level 3.5 hype. So he's a hype 3 for me. So Seamus, there's a couple options here. The MP charge is a little high. So what you're looking at for Seamus is these 2 here, which gives you 4 and 6 MP, and your turn is 7. So you would start with the choose to load the sub, and then just like we did with Brawn Breaker, you would set, or Bone Breaker, you'd set 3 matches all around the board after the sub to swipe into to reload the sub. It would take 3 sets though. So you do 1 3 match, and then you'd set up 3 other 3 matches of purple to swipe into to reload this again. So you could get 2 subs pretty easily that way, right? So you can do it that way if you'd like. And this will net you, you can see we have 15.2 for 5 turns. 76 million, and then it's a 300% boost, so times 4 is 304 million. Okay? 304 million at hype 3 would be 500 million. So I can do about 1 billion reliably on turn 1 with this setup, right? I'm starting, the choose is loaded. It doesn't require anything being on the board. I do 1 3 match and then set up 3 more. And at hype 3, I can do about 1 billion on turn 1. Very, very strong carry that way. If you have hype 4, it would be 562 million. So not that much more, but more. Okay. Now the other option is to play it risky and go for a purple match. So in this, you'd start out with 5 MP. A purple match would get the sub loaded, or a like blue to purple, yellow to purple, anything like that plate, or a prop, right? So, and you would start with the sub, and then you just need to do 1 choose. So I think this has a lot of merit if you carry a purple prop. And when the board doesn't cooperate, you do that because you do a sub, and then if you got the match, so do a swipe, do a sub, and then you'd have time to set up 3 or 4 matches with this, and then do another sub that way. But this is more damage, right? So this one, you're going to do 15 million for 7 turns instead of 5. That puts you to 105 million. Now you put the boss buff, it puts you to 420 million. Now 420 million with the hype 3 would be times 66%, which brings you to almost 700 million. And if you had him hype 4, $777 million. And you can do that twice. So I think that's kind of the ticket, right? And then if you have them hype 2, 420 times 1.5, you're going to do 567. So 2 sets, you'd get them over $1 billion. So Seamus is your best sub person by far, relatively easy to use, and a very nice carry that way. Now, inevitably, people are going to also talk about the damage per turn stuff, guys. We're talking about 567 million damage sub. The damage per turn is 5 million up to 9 turns. It totals up to 45 million. Same thing with Bonebreaker. It's 7 million per turn. Up to 9 turns, it's 63 million. They're a drop in the bucket. They don't matter. It's a 2 billion health boss. You don't care about those. Okay? All right. And the final sub person I'm going to go over is Austin. And I have a weird build for you for him because it'll also make you useful during the shield. Now, we talked about why his bleed would not be good. This is Austin with all of the moments that add to the sub, by the way. So 200% on Beer Bath. This one we don't care about. This one we don't care about. This one we don't care about. Nothing adds. Faction boss does get a 200% bleed on tribute to the troops, but his bleed isn't big enough probably to matter. At 1.4, if it was hardcore and you did the bleed twice, it would matter with the 200%. But at 2 turns at 1.42 million is not enough really to matter. But let's just hypothetically here. Well, let's max it to why not? $1.5. So the problem in general with Austin is if you level the bleed, you give up the sub, right? It's one or the other. His sub is 2.7 for 8 turns. That happens instantaneously. Obviously, we can all agree 2 points, and that's without showing the gears in the moment. Obviously, we can all agree it's more than that. So if you put the bleed in, you're still going to do 1.5 million and then 200%. It's going to be a 4.5 million bleed for 2 turns. What are you going to do? You're going to do a 9 million bleed on a 100 billion boss. Who cares, right? So I would personally, this is a waste of time to hit this move. You want to just keep hitting your sub over and over because that's his big ticket item, right? So I also have his gears to help the sub. So the move I would put in is generate 40 random yellow gems so you can help break the shield on turn 2 if something goes wrong. All right. So we're going to run with Woods and Nikki. That's 4, 6 MP. Your turn gives you 7. So this starts loaded. So you can do the choose to do the sub. And then after that, you need to do a row break and 2-3 matches every time to reload the sub because it's not tours. So a row break and 2-3 matches. And then you just keep doing the sub over and over and over. And if you have everything, including the gears and the one sub moment, which is the beer bath, when you get in the match, his sub is only 227 million. So with all of that, it's only a 227 million sub. And that's with 3 extra turns and 275% from the moment in this in extra sub damage. So this sub is 900,000 for 6 turns, which would be the equivalent of basically, what do we say? It's 275%. It's 9 turns, I'm sorry, because of the gear. This sub is, so 900 times 1.100, it's 200%. So it basically turns his sub into a 1.2 million for 9 turn base sub. So if they had a 3 base turn, it would be like a 3.6 billion sub or 3.6 million sub for 3 turns, right? So he's really the next best sub person after Sheamus, right? And Austin, with all the stuff, is only going to do 227 million. Compared to the bleed, compared to Roger Rabbit and stuff, it's just not a great option. So you really want this in reserve, right, to help break the shield with Austin. And he's also your best, probably your best pick at defensive, right? So I will use Austin. But anyway, so 227 million sub is what you have. And then when you're setting up your choose, you're doing a row break in 2-3 matches, you'll inevitably get some yellows to get the yellow filled. Or you can swipe to do it if it looks like you're not going to win on turn 1 and there's yellows on the board. So 227 million from Austin, but he can keep cycling. You should be able to get, after the initial choose, at least 3 subs, I would think. For sure 2, but probably 3, because it just depends how long it takes you to choose. But for sure 2, maybe 3. So he's a pretty good damage option if you get the cycles down. So 227 million at hype 2, like I have him, would be 306 million, roughly. And if you had him hype 3, 376 million, right? And hype 4, you can just figure that out yourself because I'm over it. Right? So that's Austin. And so that covers the damage people, right? If you don't have a really strong damage guy, don't try to bring a mediocre damage guy. Help your faction out and bring somebody with a maxed out unfreeze in the focus slot that can also blow up the board. So in my case, I could just use Dudenator Sammy, for example. He's got a bleed that probably won't work, but I also have this 7x6 area I can choose to destroy to blow up the board and get some stuff there. So, you know, just somebody that can do a little something, but more importantly, can blow up the board. In particular, you want people that can repeat a 1-click. You could easily use someone like Ilya because he can continue to grow his gem damage and you're ready to go. Make, you know, put the pyros down, blow up the board, right? So you could easily use someone like Ilya with a green Piper. He'll get stronger each turn and do good damage. I mean, he does, like, with no buffs, Ilya can do over 300 million on 1 cycle. So the second cycle, and he can easily do 2 cycles. Second cycle's probably like 500 million, right? So literally you can probably do 800 million with Ilya and stuff like that. So you could bring Ilya, right? You could do Punk, like whatever you feel like. Punk can just literally spam the green move over and over. 7x5 area into green. Doesn't really matter, right? You have tons of options. Personally, I think I'll go either with Ilya or Zombie Black for me. I'll probably go Zombie Black just because I feel like it. I like him and I want to use him. Now you come into aggressive here. Not nearly as many good options. I think Cena has actually a pretty strong Showboat SE Cena. I think has actually a pretty decent sub, so I may have snubbed him a little bit. 1.5 million for 4 turns. So it's still nowhere near Austin, right? So, you know, yeah, but you can blow up the board off of the sub. So you could sub with Cena, right? And then destroy 49 random gems. They also turn into leech gems, so you're going to heal yourself, right? And this just increases your yellow MP, but you might have trouble getting back. You'd probably want to choose yellow or something in case the board isn't full. But you're blowing up the whole board, so you're likely to get some of those. Anyway, but that's the kind of stuff you can do, right? In the aggressive spot, I'm using Axe, but I know he's rare, right? So, for example, use someone you can grow the gem damage with. Hogan with wild cards. It blows up the board, and he can do tons of damage, gets bigger all the time. You could do Austin, right? Sleeper pick, Bray. He can blow up the board. Hulkamaniac plate. He's got decent damage finisher at 1.1 million. A little bit slow, but he's going to be great at blowing up the board. Just spam back and forth. Skip the this move. with a Hogan plate. You could spam back and forth with a takedown too. Boom, 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 boom. With Bray. Bray would be a great pick actually for this one, because he'd be great with the board. Blowing as well, bring some extra damage. You know what I mean? Just get creative with it. Austin, Shredder for the bleed, if it's enough for you. We kind of talked about that. Shredder a little harder to get back to the bleed, so maybe 2 cycles at best. You know, so that's kind of what I got. I don't like Vader's bleed. Someone's inevitably going to say use Vader. No. King has a decent sub, and he's got 99 MP. So if you have Armor King leveled up, and if you bought the starter pack, you have him hyped too without spending. It's a 1.5 million sub. That also increases your blue MP. And this increases your yellow MP. So you could just do sub into Juggernaut, sub Juggernaut, sub Juggernaut, but you're going to eventually start covering up your Juggernaut. So that's a problem. You should be aware of that, right? So you could do some subbing with King, and since he has 99 MP, you could go all sub trainers. So like AJ, Zombie AJ, etc., etc. But for me, I think it's an Axe. I would use Axe or somebody that can grow their damage and continue hitting hard, right? So if you have someone hype 4 like I do, Hall of Fame JBL, like I used him for Titan, would do pretty well. Penta, I mean, the power gem thing with Penta is real, and you know, you can get cranked fairly fast, but I don't think he's good enough, and he won't help with the thing. It's just more interesting or fun if your fight went a long time. You could maybe get the power gems fairly big, but I think the boss drops silence gems, so if I'm not mistaken, I think yeah, he turns 30 silence, so ignore the Penta comment, right? But anyone that spams gems, El Grande, great shield breaker, actually. He's got a small sub, but great shield breaker. He can grow the damage on it. I would probably just, yeah, this one, right? And you could use the sub to set up the increase in gem damage, so you could just run triple green on him. But you need to get back to it, so run this one, potentially. Run a rumble plate would be the easiest way, or a ring of royalty for Grande. But he could blow up the board, has a little baby sub, you know, doesn't really matter. Besides those guys I talked about, I'm not going to talk about everyone. You guys should know who you have on your roster that can blow up the board, right? So there. At Chaotic, a lot of good choices. Hornswoggle, not great. His sub doesn't do enough. It's 800 or 900k for 5 turns or something. So not there. Roman, as you guys saw, pretty solid. Penta, Zombie Penta, great for blowing up the board, 1-click spam, finisher over and over. He also can drop reinforces. Goldberg can be great for that, right? Alistair Black can be great for that. You know, Roger Rabbit's chaotic, Sheamus is chaotic. So a lot of good options here. I thought Bonebreaker was chaotic. Is he not? Not hype points. He's not. So for me, I'll probably go Sheamus here, maybe? Just for the funsies instead of Roman. Although Roman does the shield better. It'll depend on who I have. I'll go Sheamus. But if I have to, I'll switch to Roman for that one. This one is going to be Austin for me, right? Zombie LA has a decent sub. And this is actually where Bonebreaker is. I'm actually going to run, right? Yeah, I'm actually going to run Bonebreaker here. So what oh no, Haku's here. What am I talking about? He's down at hype 2. That's why I can't find him. I'm going to run Haku. I love Haku for this. So that's what I'm actually going to run. I could go Axe, but I feel like Bonebreaker is going to be really great at hype 4 for me. So that's what I'm going to run. There's a lot of options here, guys. This video has been freaking long. Boss battle videos are always kind of like that for me. I think I've given you a lot of good options, a lot of stuff to chew over, and covered a lot of scenarios, but it's a weird boss. We haven't had one like this in a very long time. And I personally believe these two to be the very best carries, to be honest. And then Rabbit and Axe, the next best, and potentially Sheamus. But I really think Bonebreaker setup with the boat status plate and using the choose to set it all up so you can drop down 3 bleeds. I mean, good night, man. Say good night, Gracie, right? That's like over 2 billion. So that's what I got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you find this helpful, and have a great boss battle tomorrow. Share this with your faction mates, please, and let me know what you think. It's always important because these are hard to do and takes a lot of time for sure. So yeah, that was a lot of prep and then a long video.